Welcome to the Carnivore Cast, the podcast focused on the carnivore diet and lifestyle, with practical advice from successful carnivores, citizen scientists, and top researchers. I'm your host, Scott Meslinski, and I'm here to speak with experts and experienced carnivores to get answers to your biggest and meatiest questions while helping you live your best life as a carnivore. If you enjoy the show, please consider supporting the Carnivore Cast on Patreon. By becoming a patron, you'll help us reach more people and continue to create content on carnivore. There are also exclusive perks available, such as private Q&As, consultations with me, and more. Become a supporter at patreon.com/carnivorecast. Check the episode description for the link. Thank you, and I'll see you there.
Dr. Shawn Baker at Shawn Baker 1967 returns to the podcast for a fourth time. Shawn is one of the most genuine, friendly, and knowledgeable human beings I've had the pleasure of meeting in person. He uses his outspoken voice to inspire thousands of people to experiment with and thrive on carnivore. If you don't know who Shawn Baker is, you're probably living under a rock. But he's the backflipping, basketball dunking, and massive deadlifting 55-year-old father. He's a 5-year carnivore. He's the co-founder of Rivero.health, a platform for people to connect, learn, and grow with the carnivore diet together. And he's constantly pushing against paradigms while educating the masses. He also hosts a large YouTube channel with 150,000 subscribers with daily uploads, including new research, news, practical tips, and more. Welcome back to the show, Dr. Baker.
Hey, Scott. It is an absolute pleasure to talk to you again. Thanks for that nice introduction. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. And how have you been? How's your World Carnivore Month going? And are you doing anything different this time?
It's going well. I mean, like I said, it's kind of funny. I did actually start it 5 years ago. So it's the 5th year we've done it. I am just, kind of inundated with requests to do stuff. So I've been doing that. But like I said, in the background, I'm doing all this. You mentioned the company Rivero. It's actually Rivero.com. We got the com. We actually ended up.
Oh, nice. That's great.
License for, or domain eventually. So it's good. It's busy. Life is busy, which is a good thing. There's, like I said, there's always worse problems to have. But I'm getting, just like I do every year, I'm getting, just thousands of people discussing how they're doing a carnivore diet and how it's helping them improve their health and get leaner and lose weight and all these neat things. So life is generally pretty good.
Yeah, that's awesome. And one thing I saw more recently is you've encouraged people to share what medications they've got off of. What inspired that?
Well, again, this is related to our company. And so we are on the cusp of becoming a full major medical company. And so we're hiring physicians, treating diseases. And so we want to show to our investors that you can get people off medications, and these medicines often cost a lot of money. And so it represents just a cost savings. And so that's one of the things we're trying to show that, look, there's value in doing what we're doing. And so that's one way to do that. And so, I've got, we've been collecting success stories for a couple of years now. We have hundreds and hundreds of those. And so we wanted to just kind of say, hey, look, this is the bottom line. We get people off drugs and medications, which tend to be a big, huge cost when it comes to paying for healthcare. So that was the impetus for that. And so that is something we're still doing, still collecting that. And it's, we have a number of people interested in investing in us, which is great. So I think it's helping.
That's amazing. I'm really excited to hear that. And I think I first heard about this idea with Rob Wolf with, I believe it was a firefighter station he worked with, and he showed how much they lowered their medical bills and like the ROI on it. And he thought it would just take off and everyone would buy it. But more recently, like Virta Health is kind of doing this with employers and their insurance plans, showing how much they can save if their employees start using Virta Health. So I think it's really cool to take that like economics type approach.
Yeah, and Virta is obviously done well. They're now a $2 billion company, and they've secured about $400 million in funding, and so they're doing quite well. And they are taking it to insurance companies, and we'll be able to do something I think equally as impressive as we continue to scale up. Because I think what we do, not just a carnivore diet, but these very diets that emphasize nutritious food, the true nutritious food, which is actually meat, I think has a tremendous role in dealing with not just diabetes like Verta focuses on, but as I'm sure you're aware of, inflammatory disease, autoimmune diseases, mental health disorders, on and on and on. And so we are looking to, like I said, make a big impact in the world of healthcare.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And what else do you have going on with Rivero now on more of the community side? And maybe what are some newer, exciting ways people can get involved?
Well, of course, we continue to have the community that continues to support people. So we continue to get more and more members, and that I think that aspect is essential to whatever sort of practice you want to do. You want to have support around you when you're trying to make changes in people's health. We continue to expand upon what we have with adding doctors to our community, adding I'm very big proponent of supporting ranchers directly. So we continue to attract ranchers that want to, let people know of their existence so that they can continue to do that. One of the things that we'll be doing, again, this is as part of the expansion within the community for the community members, we'll start, allowing sort of tailoring, customizing things for people based on their particular demographics and disease conditions that they're trying to deal with. And so what we've discovered is, someone who is, say middle-aged with, diabetes, depression may require different sort of support, treatment, and even dietary interventions than someone that is, say, younger and perhaps is dealing with an autoimmune disease early in life. And so we're as people provide us more and more data, and the nice thing about the carnivore diet is the data is relatively unconfounded with when it comes to dietary data. And so we continue, we have mechanisms by which people can share that data and help to, refine what we're doing. This is something that as we grow, we'll be able to get more and more accurate as to what, we're able to share with people so that they can treat their unique situations. My hypothesis was that, many people share the same disease, but they are so dissimilar that they don't always respond, the same way to the same intervention. And so if you can start to sort of granulize that a little bit more to where you can say, does it truly matter how old I am and what sex I am and what is my ethnicity or genetic background or my activity level or where I live or what my job is or how much sun exposure I get? Do those things modify how I would treat a particular condition and do other conditions, does somebody with diabetes and Crohn's disease act different from somebody who has diabetes and not Crohn's disease? I mean, the obvious answer is most likely yes, but how so, and what sort of interventions can you do for that? So that's going to be the focus, as we, like I said, we're ramping up, or we've got several investors that have invested in us, and so we're going to start spending that money to develop some of this, data, synthesis, and then also we've got several clinical trials we're going to be doing as well.
Yeah, that's great. And one question I had around that is, as you're bringing more doctors into the fold and onto the platform, do you find you're uncovering pockets of like clinicians who have used carnivore or carnivore-like diets to treat a lot of people with a certain condition, maybe one that you haven't heard of before? Like, I know what was interesting is like when Paul Mason started becoming a lot more well-known, it was like, wow, he's helped so many people with IBS and these digestive conditions. And so I'm curious if you've had some of those types of experiences with new physicians you start to work with.
I've seen, I think it kind of works backwards. I think what I'm finding is, we're seeing people discovering what works for them, and then the physicians are finding out about it. And so since I've been mostly interacting directly with the population in general, and I've seen so many things respond to a carnivore diet, and now we're seeing physicians who picked it up, particularly things like you'd mentioned, IBS, Crohn's, IBD, including Crohn's disease, and ulcerative colitis. And then we're also seeing such good success with things like psoriasis and rheumatoid arthritis and even mental health disorders. And so I'm seeing all of those things being represented in the physicians now. And so I haven't seen like this is a brand new disease that I've never heard of being treated this way. I mean, I usually find that out from the patients, quite honestly. But there are more and more physicians that are definitely using it, and many of them are now being vocal about it, which I think is great, because I think this is something that people need to know about so they can address those issues.
Yeah, absolutely. And you do a great job, Shawn, of sharing studies and research on your YouTube channel and your Instagram. Is there any area of research that's garnered your attention more recently?
Let's see. I don't know. I mean, I kind of have my eyes out for anything that looks interesting for me. I haven't really said I'm really going to focus on this one particular area. As we're designing clinical trials, I'm sort of delving into those particular areas. We're going to probably target a few diseases first, which make the most sense for us. And those are going to be some of those ones I've already mentioned, these autoimmune inflammatory diseases. So I'm looking more at how do we assess these things objectively. Obviously there's the subjective, clinically validated, subjective forms, which are great. And those are very valid. And I think it's very meaningful for patients. And, but there's also these sort of emerging markers, lab markers that are interesting to see how valid they are. So I'm kind of looking at that, but that, like I said, that's a small part of what I do. I mean, it's important, but it's, like I said, I just kind of look through that. I'm very fortunate, and maybe you get some of this too, as your social media account grows, people just send you stuff that's interesting. Some of it's, kind of stupid, goofy stuff, but a lot of it's often, some valid research. And so I look at those things and I'll often kind of share those. Sometimes, I'll try to synthesize that and make it more understandable for maybe, kind of a layperson if I can.
Yeah, I think you've always done a great job of that. And another thing I like that you do is you're not afraid to highlight BS and misinformation in the media. So what inspires you to keep doing that every day? I mean, it must get tiresome.
Well, I mean, sometimes it does get a little tiresome. Sometimes I think, it'd be fun if I just kind of abandoned social media. But, honestly, I get a lot of enjoyment out of interacting with folks and in one form or another. And I think, I try to use humor and entertainment to keep engagement high the best I can. And, that often, because you see such outrageous nonsense being posted by, people that think that meat is evil and, the only way you can be healthy is to, stuff your mouth with, 15, bowls of vegetables every day. So I just, find that those things lend themselves to a little bit of humor and, often will do that just for fun. I have fun with it too, quite honestly.
Yeah. I think the funniest have been some of your TikToks where it's just you reacting to someone making some crazy like meat substitute or something disgusting.
Yeah. They spend like 3 hours and 600 ingredients and, putting something that doesn't even look remotely appealing and, pretending it's meat. It's kind of humorous. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think the story is changing in popular media at all in terms of meat for nutrition or the environmental impact?
I think more and more people are aware of some of the counter narrative, I suppose. I mean, there is clearly a narrative that we're all going to be giving up meat and eating bugs and plant-based gruel and perhaps synthetic lab meat. And that's kind of, some people have resigned to that and sort of buy off on what they're being told. But I think there's a huge pushback. And what's really made me happy is to see more and more ranchers and farmers starting to get out there and let people know what's really going on. Because, for years we've had this sort of vegan propaganda, documentary films and showing a very one-sided, lopsided view of the world. And a lot of people have kind of bought into that because they had no other way to sit. I mean, most people don't spend time on ranches and farms. I mean, I've had the great pleasure and honor to have gone on to many, many ranches and spoke with ranchers directly and walked with their animals and seen what's going on. And so I know very much how much these people actually care about, the animals that they take care of and then, eventually provide, turn them into food. But and then I think, there's been a lot of people that are pushing back. I mean, I think that's clear. I think, the fact that the carnivore diet is now even mentioned in the mainstream, discourse, whereas, 5 or 6 years ago, kind of, before I was involved, I don't want to take full credit for this, but I think I've had some impact on, bringing that, of course, guys like Joe Rogan talking about it now have with the influence and reach he has, people know about it. They know it's an option. Now, many people think it's crazy, but they know that it is an option. And, there's many people that try it now and they find out pretty quickly that, hey, wait, maybe meat isn't the bad guy. Why do I feel so good when I eat a lot of meat? And, I've been told I should be dead. And that's not happening, clearly, as you know.
I'm very excited to be partnering with Bioptimizers to bring you guys an awesome new product. Capex helps you digest fat, which we all know is so important on a carnivore or meat-based diet. There are many well-researched benefits to having good fat in your diet. I think it's an essential part of carnivore to make sure you're getting enough fat, not just jamming down protein. But the problem is with too much fat and without proper digestive enzymes and key nutrients, the fat just sits in your stomach and creates a traffic jam. For me, this made me bloated, made me up all night with indigestion. You can feel sluggish, low energy. Undigested fats pass through your GI tract, so you can get greasy, fatty stools, constipation, fatty liver, etc. But Bioptimizers has created an awesome new digestive product called Capex, which is specifically great for carnivore. It helps in a few key ways. One is it can help rev up your cellular metabolism and boosting your energy and your capacity to burn fat as fuel. It also helps your body build new cells on a carnivore diet. And lastly, it can give you really strong focused energy. So I don't recommend taking it past 5 p.m. or so, because it can just wake you up without any stimulants, which is pretty awesome. So I highly suggest you check it out. I had a great podcast with one of the founders and CEO of Bioptimizers, Matt Gallant. If you want to check it out, you can go to kenergize.com/carnivorecast to get a discount. That's KENERGIZE.com/carnivorecast, one word. And you'll automatically get 10% off any package of Capex with coupon code carnivorecast10. It's all one word at checkout. That's kenergize.com/carnivorecast. And hope you guys enjoy.
A lot of credit goes to you in spreading this message and making it so popular and well known, and dispelling a lot of those myths publicly. Shifting gears a little bit, have you run any diet experiments yourself lately? Last time we spoke, you had gone through your fat cycling cut. Just curious if you're doing anything different with your diet lately.
Not so much. I've been, more interested in, like I said, I've taken up a new sport, jiu-jitsu. And so I'm kind of just feeding myself appropriately for that. It really hasn't changed too much. I mean, I'm basically 2 meals a day, basically eating, 3 to 4 pounds of meat a day. And, when I say meat, I mean, sometimes it's eggs, the equivalent amount of eggs and that type of stuff. But, no, I mean, World Carnivore Month, I generally sort of get fairly strict, where I just don't include dairy and some of these other things. But no, I really haven't changed too much as far as, trying to do any kind of particular experiments. I mean, my goal right now, I just turned 55, as you mentioned. I'm trying to stay strong and get stronger. And, it was interesting. I just actually, at least for the last 5 years, I just recently did some deadlifting and I hit a PR, a lifetime PR on a trap bar deadlift. And so I'm focusing on getting stronger, just to kind of, as I've mentioned many, many times, I think being strong, having plenty of lean muscle mass is so important as you get older in life. And so the fact that I've been able to, even in the last 5 years since I've been doing carnivore, get stronger than I was 5 years ago is kind of a cool thing. And so that requires a bit more food, as putting on weight and strength, you got to eat more. And so that's what I've been doing. And I can't say I'm complaining. I like when I can eat a lot. That's kind of, I'm a big guy and I got a big appetite. So that is what I've been up to lately.
Yeah. Do you feel like you notice a difference now versus like 3 years into carnivore? Do you think it's changed for you at all? The effects on your body or your taste or anything?
Not anything major. Not that I could say. I mean, I like ribeyes 3 years ago and I still like them today. I mean, that's still probably my favorite. I've been experimenting a little more with different cuts of meat just because, I've I have that. I've got maybe a few different cooking options that I didn't have a couple of years ago. I'm more, I'm just playing a little more creatively in the kitchen with, different styles of cooking. But I mean, my taste is still pretty much the same.
Yeah. And what got you into the Brazilian JiuJitsu, and what are your goals with that?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, thought it looked cool many years ago. I've been kind of just thinking it looks something cool, but I never really had the motivation to do it. And so it's interesting. One of the professional fighters, a guy named Georgi Karhanian, who fights in Bellator, started following a carnivore diet, and he was in Los Angeles or near Los Angeles. And he hit me up on social media. He said, "Hey, can I come train with you?" I was just training at my house. I said, "Sure, I don't mind. Yeah, I'm always happy to have training partners." So he came down, and I put him through a couple workouts, and we cooked 8 steaks together. And he said, "Hey, if you want to learn how to do jiu-jitsu, come up to my place. I'll have a studio. I'll show you how to do it." So I use that as I thought that was an interesting opportunity. So I went up there and did it, and just had a blast with it. And just kind of signed up. And as far as my goal, I'm going to compete. My first competition is beginning of March, and we'll see where I can go. I mean, I think, and I may be wrong, but I think I can compete at a very high level, particularly as a masters athlete, as somebody my age, just because I still have a lot to learn and a long way to go as far as the technical side of the game. But I mean, from a physical standpoint, I think I can do very well with that. And a lot of the other athletic pursuits I've had will transfer, pretty well to this. I mean, being tall with long limbs and being very strong and being fit is a definite, advantage for me. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm in there. I mean, I don't get to train as much as I'd like to, just because of the personal situation with where we're living right now. But I have full intention to do it and compete to the highest level I'm able to.
Yeah, that's really cool. I can't see any 50-year-old or mid-50s person not being absolutely terrified to spar with you, Shawn. Are long limbs actually an advantage in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or do you want shorter ones? I wasn't sure, because I feel like if you had really long limbs, you could get pinned more easily, but maybe it's just an advantage.
There's every body type has its own particular attribute that makes it more effective. And so, but I think longer limbs, give you some more offensive advantages that other people don't. Like there's something called a triangle, where you kind of wrap your legs around somebody's neck and kind of squeeze poke out and stuff like that. So there are some disadvantages to it. Being big has its advantages and disadvantages. And so there's, like I said, but if you develop your game so that becomes your strong point, and you're able to, your arms might be more easily captured because they're longer and they're harder to hide, so to speak. But, I think the combination of being long and strong is a pretty good combination. And so like I said, if you've got long, skinny arms that you can't, protect very well, then it's easier to, I guess, get you in an armbar situation. But if your arms are particularly strong, then you might be able to avoid some of that. So I think it's a net positive for me. And so I think while I'm still learning how to use it correctly, generally I think it's general positive.
Yeah. I for some weird reason, I have a fascination with how different body proportions affect different sports. I think it's because I rode for so long and I have really short legs and very long arms. And that was such a disadvantage. But yeah, that's interesting. What was it like? You mentioned the deadlift PR. I saw some of that on Mark Bell's channel. What was it like training with Stan Efferding and the gang at Super Training?
Well, I mean, and I've had the pleasure and the opportunity to train there several times, and it's always motivating. I mean, one thing, they stick a camera on you the whole time, so you can't really be slacking. So, it's kind of funny. Mark has cameramen, and they're literally filming basically every second you're there the whole time, no matter what you do. So if you're picking your nose, it's going to be on camera. But it's not only was Stan there and Mark there, and both these guys are world class, or have been world class athletes when it comes to strength sports, and Stan particularly with bodybuilding. And then we had Andrei Malenchev, I got it right. Yeah, sorry, I want to pronounce it right. And he was he's a Russian guy he's the super heavyweight world record holder in powerlifting there as well. And they're all screaming at you to perform. And so, I mean, in this particular situation, my goal was to deadlift 415 pounds on a trap bar for 20 repetitions, dead stop instead of touch and go, which I'd never done before. And so my goal is to hit 20. And with these guys screaming and yelling, I was able to hit 22, which is, pretty decent for, particularly for my age and whatnot. And then of course, Stan went and he had to do 25, but it was something that, it was a pretty intense environment. And we did a lot of other training besides that. We did, a whole bunch of stuff afterwards. And so it's a great experience. It's something because I usually train by myself at home, and, obviously I have to be internally motivated, but having someone else there always elevates, my game in particular. And so when you're in a place where there's nothing but kind of world champions around you, you either, sneak away or you perform at a high level.
Yeah. I think it's definitely a dream of mine to train with Mark Bell and Seema and some of those guys one day. That would be so cool. Do you think with like all the education you've done and Mark Bell has done and Paul Saladino and all these people, do you think your audience is getting smarter about carnivore? Like obviously there are always going to be new people. But do you feel like some of the super common questions, like why don't you eat organ meats, and stuff like that, has that changed? Has it shifted? Are people asking different questions now, or do you feel like it's been pretty similar?
I think there's enough information out there, and as you know, everybody's got information at their fingertips via the internet, that many people answer those questions. When I first started doing it, it was like, how do you go to the bathroom? And aren't you going to get scurvy? And I don't see that as much.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw it for the first year or two, and then then so many people hear the arguments and understand, and it's obvious we're not getting scurvy, and so now the questions are a little more nuanced, and you still get the questions of stuff that's a new person would ask, like, can I have a cheat meal, and do you eat vegetables, and this type of stuff I get from time to time where people aren't familiar with me. But in a large part, particularly like within my social media, if somebody asks a question, there's usually somebody that will respond to that person and say, no, you don't need to do this or that, and this is my experience. And so many people have experience with this now that the common questions are being addressed pretty quickly, because it's impossible for me to answer every single comment on a post. I would do nothing else. I try to answer my direct message, and that usually can be an hour or more a day just trying to do that, and that's a lot of time to take care of that stuff. But I think obviously, and there's people that have done their modifications. Some people are doing it a certain way. Some people are doing raw meat, and some people are doing organ meats, and some people are adding fruit and honey and other different variations. And I don't, like I said, none of it really bothers me. I mean, I think, again, at the end of the day, I just want people to do what's working for them, so they can. What frustrates me is when I go out in society, I see so many damn sick people and so many obese people, and they're miserable and pissed off, and they make society less enjoyable for the rest of us. And so, people are solving their issues, getting off their drugs, and getting their brains right. Then I'm happy.
Yeah. It is really sad to see how sick some people are, and I think oftentimes we need to zoom out and see that to get away from like that's not carnivore infighting type thing that goes on. It's just, it's all kind of noise. You just like go to any common place and see what people are eating and how people are feeling and all the health conditions they have. And like you said, how it influences a lot of the decisions they make over, how they force other people to live as well. What's your goal with the YouTube channel, Shawn? What is there anything you're trying to do with that in particular?
Well, my short-term goal is to not get suspended completely. I keep getting suspended because I've dared to comment on, this pandemic stuff, which is, apparently you're not allowed to talk about that stuff. But with the YouTube channel, like I said, just to grow that, to get more exposure, I've been kind of, my message has been a little bit more diverse. I've been a little more political on there, something which I never really wanted to do. But I think, what people say, you may not be interested in politics, but politics is is interested in you. And so, growing the audience and then exposing them to, the fact that, meat is not bad for us, and we shouldn't be limiting that, because I have a selfish interest in being able to continue to eat meat for whatever reason, and for my kids to be able to do that. And as you probably are aware, there's a pretty significant push to limit meat significantly in the human diet, which I think is just an incredibly short-sighted and dreadful mistake we'll make if we ever go that route. And so it's just, like I said, education, entertainment, hopefully to I try to, one of the things I try to do, I have a lot of different sort of things, but I try to inspire people to do stuff and not just be passive and to just sort of take control of their life and their health. And I get a lot of people, my audience, I look at the demographics, so it tends to be an older audience. And so I get a lot of people that some of them are just, physical and mental train wrecks from years of, doing the wrong things, nutritionally and lifestyles wise. And, just get some of those people to sort of realize that they have within their power to change these things. And it's not that hard. The plan is not that hard to do. The implementation can be tough, but, and I try to, like I said, my YouTube, I try to post something every day, multiple times a day, something usually little short, 2-3 minute videos, which seems to work well for me, and the audience seems to like it. And so a lot of people use that kind of as a grounding place to kind of just get recharged, I suppose.
Yeah, I really enjoy it myself. I meant to ask you when we started the interview, how many times have you been in Instagram jail since we last spoke?
Well, I don't know about Instagram jail. I mean, YouTube, I've been suspended, I think 4 or 5 times, so it's like they shut me down for a week or 2 weeks.
Wow.
And right now I'm sitting on 2 strikes. And so I could, if I get a 3rd strike before, I think it's March 3rd, then the channel will be shut down. And I guess I would have to start another one. Hopefully that won't happen. So I've been tempering the topics I talk about, just, try to see if I can make it for another, 6 weeks or so. But Instagram, I mean, I've been periodically shadow banned. I mean, I have people that say they can't find me. They've got to search it.
Yeah.
Type every last letter.
Yeah, I've had that several times.
Yeah, I don't know how many times that's happened to me. I couldn't even tell you. I mean, it's kind of sad that we have this, censorship sort of thing. I mean, I know people say, well, they're private companies, they can do what they want. But this is realistically, it's kind of like this is the town square at this point. It's like where people would gather outside and chat. It's now become digitized, and just because somebody owns the town square, do we suspend our constitutional rights for I guess that's a good analogy. Like if I go to a mall and I want to exercise free speech, can they say, well, this is a privately owned facility and you're not allowed to say that here? Is that a fair? Does the First Amendment apply in the middle of the shopping mall?
Yeah, same thing with Instagram. It's just owned by someone. And YouTube. Well, thank you very much, Shawn. It's been a pleasure. I know you're a very busy guy and really appreciate you doing this. Where can people find out more about you and support what you're doing?
Yeah, so Rivero.com, and we will be, like I said, we are right now, dealing with a lot of investment. We're going to have a public investment option for people that may have an interest in that. That's going to happen in the very near future. I can't release the details to the SEC regulations until we actually do it. So, but that will be happening. It'll be, I'll let people know on my social media, so you can actually purchase a portion of Rivero if you're interested. So as it grows, hopefully your investment grows. Instagram, as you mentioned, Shawn Baker 1967. So SHAWNBAKER 1967. I'm on Twitter at SBakerMD. I've got a YouTube channel. I think it's Shawn Baker MD. I've got, what else? TikTok, which I've got a guy that just approached me about trying to assist me with some of the social media, because I've been doing it exclusively by myself for the last 5 years. And
wow.
So I may, ask for, get some assistance. So I'm trying to grow that account as well, because that seems to be the most, as TikTok is a weird place. It's got a bunch of crazy nuttiness. It's kind of a cesspool, but there is a lot of audience there that we could influence. And I think it's important to reach these younger audiences. Like I said, my demographic skews towards the more, the older folks, but reaching the younger folks and let them know, hey, you need to know what's going on for your future. So that is also Shawn Baker, MD. And then I think I've got a Getter account. This is that right-wing Nazi crap, whatever. It's just more freedom of speech. So I've got a Getter. I think it's also Shawn Baker, MD. I think I've got a Rumble account, Shawn Baker, MD. And I think that's it for now. That's plenty. That's more than enough.
You're diversified.
So, yeah, trying to see if we can reach as many people as possible.
Nice. Well, thanks, Shawn. Really appreciate it. I'll have links to all that. And best of luck with everything you have going on.
Scott, thank you very much. And keep doing the good work. You're doing a great job as well.
Thank you.
If you enjoy the show, please consider supporting the Carnivore Cast on Patreon. By becoming a patron, you'll help us reach more people and continue to create content on carnivore. There are also exclusive perks available, such as private Q&As, consultations with me, and more. Become a supporter at patreon.com/carnivorecast. Check the episode description for the link. Thank you, and I'll see you there. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Carnivore Cast. If you enjoyed this episode, please review on iTunes. It really helps us out. And share it with a friend. What questions would you like answered, or who would you like to hear from in the carnivore research community? You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Carnivore Cast, or go to carnivorecast.com. You can also email me at info@carnivorecast.com. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep it carnivore.